Welcome. You're watching the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. A day after the historic mandate that has brought back Narendra Modi as Prime Minister with even more majority than the last time round, now the focus shifts to the future. The future of Indian politics and the impact this landslide victory will have on Indian politics as it stands. Now, in the opposition ranks, the trouble has already started. The rumblings can be heard. There have been a slew of resignations on Rahul Gandhi's desk. None from him yet, though officially, and we'll have to wait and see if that happens. Alliance partners in various states are beginning to feel uneasy, and we have to see if now a renewed and more aggressive BJP will turn its eyes on the assemblies in Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh. Will we see them on shaky grounds? On the other hand, everyone is very curious to know what the new cabinet will look like. Who are the new set of ministers we'll see, especially in the key portfolios of finance, home, defense, foreign policy. To speak on all of this and more, I'm joined today by Nalin Kohli of the BJP. I'm speaking with Sanjay Jha of the Congress Party, political analyst Madhavan Narayanan, and of course, very senior political commentator and journalist Neerja Chaudhary. I want to welcome all of you to the India Development Debate and thank you for speaking with us this evening. Nalin Kohli, let me begin with you and the overall question that I posed. What kind of a BJP are we going to see in its 2.0 version or over the next 5 years? Because this is a party that has never been short on aggression, has expanded rapidly in different parts of the country. Are the assemblies in Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh next online?
There are many negatives in terms of how you framed it, Tamanna. So let me address each one of them. There is a negative inherent, a belief that the BJP is a negative party. That would be a fairly unfair comment on both as us as a party and also the voters of India, because they don't reward negativity, nor do we have a negative agenda.
Is aggression a negative thing?
If we are to understand by aggression.
Yeah, aggression in a political party, is that a negative thing?
Let me answer that also. Yes, how can it be aggressive? No, I don't think so, because simply put, and to put it as bluntly as this, aggression in delivering on the promises is a positive thing. Prime Minister Modi was not elected in 2014 with an agenda that maybe over the next 50 years, let's build the balanced toilets for the poor in the country, or over the next 100 years, let's see that electricity reaches the balanced 18,000 villages, or maybe over the next 200 years, we should ensure that financial inclusion takes place, because from 1972, when banks were nationalized by Indira Gandhi ji, till now all poor people didn't have bank accounts. So yes, aggression is needed in a positive sense. I think aggression has two phases or two exact facets. Aggression in terms of violence is certainly not a positive, but aggression in terms of meeting a target for the benefit of others, how can that be a negative? So that's why I said I'm surprised that there is a negative undertone to what you're asking.
So I don't know what undertone you're hearing, Mr. Kohli, because I didn't speak about violence. I didn't say it was negative. I said the BJP is an aggressive political party. I'm talking about political aggression. Whether that's negative or positive, I leave it to the viewers to come to their own conclusion.
So what do you mean by political aggression?
So,
why don't you tell
me? For
me?
example, now less than 24 hours later, are you going to go in for the jugular in Karnataka, where Operation Kamala has been experimented with in 2-3 different versions? Are you set for that? Is Madhya Pradesh the next where, with the wafer thin margins, you're going to topple that over? We've seen quotes from BJP leaders talking about West Bengal. Is all of this on your sights now politically?
Now again, there's also an assumption, and that's why I call it again a negative. I'm sorry, I'm not being meaning to be mean or anything like that. I'm just telling you my counter narrative to your questioning, which is that the vote of confidence in Madhya Pradesh was asked for before the election results came out. It had nothing to do with the election results. There is a tottering, tithering government there. If it is contradictions within it, that is that government's own demise, if it so has to be. If it can survive it, so be it. The BJP is not going to impose Article 356. I mean, if I may remind you that if there was aggression in its use, it existed much before the BJP came in, when it was used some 120 times before various regimes of the Congress party. for very, very small reasons. Whenever the BJP has resorted to it, in a few circumstances, there's been judicial review. They haven't stood the scrutiny of judicial review, and we've understood that issue. So why believe in it? In Karnataka, H.D. Devagowda has lost the election. His family and his other members are saying so. The Congress party and their alliance is not working. How are we to be responsible for an alliance that was forced to prevent the BJP from coming in if it does not survive? If it survives, good for them.
Okay.
They have to answer to the people. We know the writing on the wall in Karnataka. After winning
Nalin
23
Kohli,
seats,
I mean, I don't know about negative and positive.
Elections are when? We will do extremely well.
Yeah, I don't know about negative and positive. I think the best thing for a journalist is if the person answering their questions don't really like it. So I will take that as a compliment. You're right. The governments in both states are shaky. Is the BJP willing to push them over if need be, was the crux of my question. I want to get Sanjay Jha into the conversation as well. We're talking about the impact on the political future in the next weeks and maybe months that we will see of this historic mandate. It's a huge one, Sanjay Jha, and you will have to realize that this is going to have far-reaching effects and repercussions. Let me come to the opposition and the Congress side. We've been hearing about resignations reaching Rahul Gandhi's desk since this morning from various state chiefs, from the in charge in Amethi, etc. Do you think there should be absolutely no delay from a resignation from the very top if the Congress has to start pretty much from scratch?
Tamanna, it is only appropriate that I start by first congratulating my friend Nalin and the BJP for clearly an astonishing success at the elections. Has it taken us by surprise? The answer to that is clearly yes. We were convinced that there were many issues on which the opposition will be able to win, led by the Congress-led UPA. It hasn't happened, and I think I must admit that we believe that its economy stupid will be the ultimate deciding factor. Clearly, in this election, that wasn't material at all. Now, as far as the ramifications on the other political parties is concerned, let the others speak for themselves. But on the Congress party, I can tell you, every time, Tamanna, I've been part of this process now for a long time, and we have seen a lot of reverses since 2014 in particular. And you actually toughen up. You actually make a resolve and a determination to further improve and see how you can handle things. Now, there has been a lot of question mark over what Mr. Rahul Gandhi should do. But let me just bring you up to speed that ever since he became the Congress president, which was just after the Gujarat elections were over and before the counting, you can look at his track record. We did well in Gujarat, substantially well. We could have even won that election, barring maybe a little slip in the end. We formed a government in Karnataka, which despite not being the number one party, I think we were very quick on a political formation. We did very well in the 3 states in the Hindi heartland. And, frankly, if you look at it, the BJP had a blank 2018. Now, in elections, these things happen. I'll be very upfront
Sanjay
with you.
Jha, let me come in
we
here.
did our
Sanjay Jha, let me come
calculations
in
before
here.
the exit poll
Sanjay
and the
Jha, let me
final
come in
numbers
here.
came in.
You're one of those Congress spokespersons who, over time, a lot of news anchors, including me, have engaged with very often. And maybe the voices to ask for a change need to come in from within the party. Maybe voices like yours should today stand up and say that, hey, something's really wrong here. And let's do something about it. Instead of counting now moral victories in 2018, I think it's alarming that you're still going back and saying we almost won 2018. I spoke about aggression a little while ago with Nalin Kohli, and this is what I mean about the opposite of aggression. That an almost win over a year ago is something that you're looking at as something to calm you and give you relief.
No, I'm pointing, I was actually going to make to you the very extraordinary aspect of this election that we must factor into account. Now, I'm not giving you any rhetoric, I'm going by facts. Just think about it for a moment, Tamanna. 3 states of the Congress wins beating the BJP are states where we are virtually blank exactly 5 months later, right? Now, this is unusual because if you go by, psephologists like Prannoy Roy's analysis, since 1977, no party which has done well in a state election, where a Lok Sabha is held within a year, has actually not bettered its position. We have drawn a blank. So clearly there was something very remarkable or a black swan moment that has happened, and we believe that is the whole issue of Pulwama and Balakot, which Mr. Modi converted into a major hyper nationalism story combined with a lot of aggressive Hindutva. Now, whether that has influenced the people, we'll get to discover when we do a more finer analysis. But the point that you asked on Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Now, I'm not saying this just because he's my leader and I'm very fond of him, but think about it that Mr. Rahul Gandhi ran a campaign which was based on a brilliant manifesto that the party came up with. Mr. Modi made digs at Hindu majority, Hindu minority, attacked his late father.
Yeah,
there were a lot of utterances
so
that
again,
Mr. Modi
I started
indulged in
the
that
show.
were, frankly,
I
with due
started the
respect to
show
my friend
saying
Nalin,
that the
they were
mandate is
false.
done, and now
But
let's
we did not
look
fall
forward.
into that trap.
Yeah, I started the show saying the mandate is done, and now let's look forward.
Yeah.
I've asked the BJP spokesperson if they will be even more aggressive as a political party, which I think is something that a political party needs to have in the next 5 years. I've asked the Congress whether they will soul search. Let me now come to our commentators and ask them what we are going to see in the days to come ahead. And Nirja, I will start with you. The Congress, of course, there's been a lot of advice given to them, and let them be for one. What do you see happening in the next few days to come? Because after 2014, I remember the Congress went into some kind of a stupor. The entire opposition really went into some kind of a stupor for close to a year. They didn't have anything to say. They just didn't know what to do. It was like deep freeze till they figured out what happened. This is ×2 in a sense. Do you think that this is how we'll see it panning out, where the BJP in the political space at least will have pretty much a free run for the next 6 to 8 months?
I think, I see the state assemblies which are going to the polls in the coming months, which will be Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand and Delhi early next year. And there is speculation about whether the Bihar elections will be advanced or should be advanced, given the kind of mandate that has come. And if you go in for early elections, you may do better. So those will be considerations. Yes, if in the next month, certainly it will be advantage BJP. In Jharkhand, it looked like, a bad scene for the BJP, but it seems to have done well despite the unhappiness of sections of tribals. So therefore, I see the BJP doing well. I don't know what the strategy will be of the Congress party and the opposition parties now in these assembly elections. That's the next big challenge, apart from saving the governments in Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan from an aggressive quote-unquote BJP. Now, as for coming to your question on the Congress, let's be very honest, the Congress is no match for the BJP, Modi-led BJP today, whether it's the leadership, whether it's the planning, whether it's the strategy, whether it's the organizational strength, or simply forget everything else, the hard work. I think if you were to ask me in one sentence, what ails the Congress party today, the Congress has ceased to work hard. It's become a party that's very soft. Now, I will say Rahul Gandhi in the last, I would agree with Sanjay Jha, Rahul Gandhi did his best, but that was not good enough, and that is something the Congress party will have to take note of and decide. But is there an alternative to him? Very difficult today. Is there anybody on the horizon who can today replace Rahul Gandhi without running into the risk of the party getting divided or people not following him? So will it be a solution that's worse than the problem that you face today? Those are very difficult questions for the Congress. And as a citizen, it's the people have given absolutely huge mandate to Mr. Narendra Modi. They've given him a blank check today to do what he wants. And with that kind of an authorization to have a weak opposition of the kind we have today, it's not a very healthy thing for any democracy. To not have the, we hope Mr. Modi, as Nalin was saying, we will go in not just for incremental changes, a few toilets here, I absolutely agree with him. If I don't want today 2 out of 5 children are malnourished and stunted in India, I don't want to say only a few thousand to get improved. I want the lives of 100 million children in India to be different in the next 3-4 years. So we hope Mr. Modi, who's brought huge energy into the social programming will, look at that scale. But in any democracy, you need to have the checks and balances which a strong opposition provides, and that unfortunately is not there today. It looks not a very good scene, and I hope the opposition parties in parliament, they add up to about 200, will at least work together.
Yeah. Well, they didn't manage to really come together cohesively when it was a battle for survival, and we've seen the results of that. Nalin, you want to comment on the point Nirja is making, and I know you'll say that's the opposition problem. Really, at this point, you don't have to worry about it. But as someone who is a seasoned politician and understands, the political landscape of India, in that context, how do you see this panning out? And is that really a concern where the other side looks like they have completely lost the plot and don't know where to begin?
Well, they've lost the plot politically in terms of an election. But to say that they've lost the plot completely, that would be a little unfair and premature, because we'll have to wait to see how the opposition party really demonstrates its presence in parliament. And the last time in the parliament which has just concluded, it was fairly disruptive, but there were also very good sessions, and when there were good sessions and work was transacted, the credit obviously had to go to both, because parliament transacted, and that was for the benefit of India when passing of bills and other things took place. But there were also in the last part, second part of the innings of Prime Minister Modi, a lot of disruption from the opposition, and the opposition used to have a standard thing: it's the responsibility of the treasury benches to run parliament, but you can't run parliament with a responsibility if the other side doesn't want it to be running. Of course, the primary thing is there. So that's why I said we'll have to see how they conduct themselves in parliament. Second is Prime Minister Modi's first tweet itself in terms of a more inclusive approach in terms of India together we will prosper, together we will work. That itself sets the tone. I think in the initial part of we are still far away from the next general election. Perhaps the opposition party will see merit to join hands and let business transact in parliament at a greater speed, so that what needs to be done in the interest of India and Indians is done. So let us wait to see. I can't really comment till parliament takes oath and till parliament starts functioning.
Well, nice to hear, more bipartisan kind of commentary. Let's hope the bonhomie lasts at least for a few days. Madhavan, you want to come in on the broad question of what the Indian political landscape will look like in the next few months? Nirja pointed out to some key state elections where, the next few challenges lie. And from what we've seen of the BJP political machinery, and Nalin, I'm not saying this as a negative or a positive, it's just factual, that it is a very on-dot, aggressive machinery, leaving nothing to chance. Does it seem likely like they'll take their foot off the pedal?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important to remember, Tamanna, let me begin by quoting the American poet T.S. Eliot. In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions that a minute will reverse. So only 6 months ago, we had the BJP doing badly in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So let's not forget that, and Balakot came and helped them. So if there is anybody who knows this more, they are Amit Shah and Modi. I do not underestimate the competence of these two gentlemen. Please understand that. The second thing is that it's not a BJP landslide, I would call it a Modi landslide, and therefore there is a tremendous amount of power, and with power, great power comes great responsibility, and he knows that there is a huge amount of pending tasks. All the big promises of Vikas linked to everything from PM Awas Yojana to Ayushman Bharat to whatever I would call the non-Balakot bucket are pending tasks. And the interesting thing I'd like to bring to your attention is that Rajiv Gandhi had a massive 80% mandate in 1984. Indira Gandhi had a great mandate in 1971. In fact, I see this mandate as the biggest since Indira Gandhi's landslide, because 84 was at least a sympathy vote. It was qualitatively different. So this is the mandate to govern with a blank check, as one of the panelists said. So once you have that kind of a scenario, I don't think Modi will wait for to play around on the state assemblies front. What this means is that Karnataka may implode on its own because there's been a marriage on the rocks from the word go. Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, it means that you cannot do anything without getting into the anti-defection law. And Nalin Kohli rightly said BJP doesn't have the Article 356 approach, because historically it's been a critic of that kind of dismissals invoking Article 356. Bengal may be a separate case because of the law and order issues. So, all that apart, I would think the focus for the government, for the BJP government would be on fulfilling its promises and making Modi, the government man, live up to the promises made by Modi, the political man. And that I would take up a lot of concentration and attention, because time can run out. Parliament has become a non-issue in some way, because we have seen disruptions in parliaments all through the past 20 years in various shapes, sizes and extents. So, it has become a non-issue. But opposition parties have an existential crisis now, because the biggest message of this mandate is the end of caste-based vote bank politics from Uttar Pradesh to Karnataka. There is both a challenge and an opportunity for various parties in this, and I expect them to figure out, to spend the time figuring out this, rather than make token kind of promises, protests in a parliament.
Yeah.
And I have anyway argued that debates and protests have shifted away from parliament to the TV studios, the streets and social media. And therefore, let's not take parliament too seriously right away.
Wow,
in terms
I
of
don't
the
know,
opposition
Madhavan.
behavior.
I'm really going to have to come there. Let's not take Parliament too seriously. Are not words that I
No,
can condone.
I'm talking in terms of the noises made will be noises made, but with close to 2/3 majority in the NDA, Mr. Modi can do whatever he wants,
Okay.
and he would want to do that.
Okay, no, I mean, the fact is, with 44 MPs, the Congress did try and stop certain legislation. The land acquisition bill was the first one. But okay, no, I'm going to come to you, Sanjay, in a bit. But Nalin, you must respond to two things. The comment on Parliament, as well as two of our speakers have talked about how the big win, and I know I'm looking forward, but I must get your comment on this. The big win also in some part has come due to Balakot. Do you agree with that? That is a substantial part of the immenseness of this mandate?
There are Tamanna, many aspects to the mandate of 2019, or tsunamo 2.0 as some people call it. First is definitely the charisma of Prime Minister Modi. Then, to quote your word as aggression, is the organization really aggressively going out there right up to the booth level, and that credit goes to Amit Shah as the party president. In 2014, people asked him, what's your next agenda? He said 2019. Very few believed him, but he delivered. As the party president, what was the important thing? To be able to make the best of Prime Minister Modi's popularity and the schemes of his government. The third part to it is, beyond Prime Minister Modi and this, I think social engineering in terms of delivery of social justice, as Neerja was saying, that's been an important and critical component. There have been, under Prime Minister Modi's government, 22 crore, that's 220 million beneficiaries of different schemes. That's not a small number. That's almost 1 in every 5 being a beneficiary of some government scheme. That's very aggressive. Oh, if we come to yours being an economic channel, growth of infrastructure, many other things have happened. So that's on the positive. The last is when you are asking about, say, nationalism. Yes, the BJP has always stood for strong articulation on nationalism. We don't think it's a political cause. We believe that's an inherent. If you don't have a strong nation, how are you going to prosper? How are you going to have peace? How will you have development? So we've stood for it. And I think with the Balakot, more than anything, it's my personal view, the opposition floundered with two things happening simultaneously. One is misreading what was called the messaging of, say, Bharat tere tukde kar de, and thinking that this is freedom of speech, missing that India broadly doesn't like a separatist thinking. And freedom of speech is a nuanced argument. It just can't be that freedom of speech encompasses you're saying that we will want the dismemberment of India. That, I think, was one part of it, if you look at it from a nationalism scale. And the other part was that India stood up to when it is under challenge, in this case terrorism, and has sent a strong message. Now, I think at that time, somewhere the opposition raised questions that were not credible. 5 trees have been brought down, things like that. And these were the things, somewhere in an age of media, they have traveled far, they have traveled wide, and they have negatively resonated against them.
Sanjay, your response to the question about Parliament and what kind of a role the opposition in all will play, and I'm asking you apart from the Congress party as well, what role does an opposition play now in a democracy setup like ours, where there is such a huge majority, even bigger than last time? Because you are going to have to go back to the drawing board and ask yourself if any of the things you've been doing in the last 5 years has worked at all.
Oh, well, Tamanna, in a democracy, it doesn't matter what your size is. In fact, the old saying that it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog that matters. And as we demonstrated during the last phase of the NDA, that the Soot Boot Ki Sarkar, which Mr. Rahul Gandhi called Narendra Modi for his very stubborn refusal to actually allow the land acquisition bill to go through, stuck with him. And in fact, it probably forced Mr. Modi to look at social welfare altogether. I want to make just one point here to what Nalin said. There's been a lot of talk about this election and BJP winning it, but I want to make one point here. During the campaign, Mr. Modi actually used words like Congress party is pro-terrorist, Congress party is pro-Pakistan. And honestly, we thought about it, we debated it internally, should Mr. Rahul Gandhi respond to that? And we took the view that these are such terrible statements, they are such awful, disastrous lies, they're so duplicitous and in terrible taste, that do we even dignify this lie with a response? Now in retrospect, I look back, maybe we should have taken up the whole issue and asked for an apology and raised the 1971 war and got into that entire national security tu meme with the BJP. But end of day, this is the public still chose that to be okay, and the public is, Janta is Janardhan, so I guess we'll stick by it. But I think at the end of the day, India's problems, Tamanna, don't change. Now you are a business channel editor, and I don't have to tell you the data. The Indian economy right now is in doldrums. A friend of mine, an ex-banker friend of mine, actually jokingly told me a few days ago that even if you guys have more seats than the BJP, let the BJP form a government. And I asked him why, and he said, listen, the economy is in such a terrible negative shape that they will have they'll have to a lot of explanations to make to the people of India for actually delivering nothing, because we are headed for some pretty dismal days. There are no green shoots and the headwinds are all over. So I think these are the realities. End of day, you win. Well,
Okay.
you've got to govern, you've got to prove it.
A
As an
lot of our
opposition,
panelists want to
we
respond.
will
Madhavan
fight
wants to
tooth and nail to
respond.
protect
One
the
second,
rights
let
of
me
every
get
citizen
Nalin
of
in
India.
first, because you
Yeah.
spoke specifically about the BJP. Nalin, your response to that?
Very briefly, I think they did respond, because they said we did 6 surgical strikes. They got Dr. Manmohan Singh to speak on it. Anyway, that was on the lighter side, because we have passed the election. We have now work to do, and we recognize that with great power comes great responsibility. There's no doubt about it. And I think you will see this government under Prime Minister Modi, whenever it is sworn in and the cabinet is formed, hit the ground literally running. There's no time to waste, because if India has to keep the momentum going, we need to move faster, not slower.
Okay, Madhavan, you wanted to come in on some of the points
Yeah,
that
I think I
Sanjay
want to
were
pick up
making.
from what I want to pick up from Sanjay, saying that the economy is seriously important for 2 reasons. One is, I just read one stray headline that the DHFL exposure of the Indian banking system alone is 40,000 crore rupees. And I'm not even bringing in ILFS. Nirav Modi and Vijay Mallya are still in the UK, and therefore from bank capitalization to fixing the banking system to bringing back the money laundering culprits or the fraud culprits, there's a huge task list or a to-do list for an unfinished kind of a task from the first innings of the NDA that Mr. Modi has to deliver on. And I do believe that black swans are constant in Indian politics or global politics for that matter, and I think the oil prices might also go up. Therefore, there is a lot to do on the economic front to fix the banking system. It's not as if the jobs crisis.
Absolutely, there is, Madhavan, and we are
I
shifting.
think the
We're going to
task.
focus on this
I
very
think the
closely.
task is.
No, but I just want
I
to
think the task
mix
is-
things up. One second. We are focusing on what the economic mandate is, and in fact, for viewers who are watching over the next week or so, you will see a deep dive on this show every day on various sectors and what the government needs to do, what the agenda has to be in the first 100 days. Today, I'm talking about the political landscape. Nija, let me come to you on a very important point, and we've spoken, I think, enough about the role of the opposition and whether we'll see a bit of this fighting going on, and of course we will. There might be a lull for some time. I don't know if this bonhomie will continue for long, like we're seeing between Nalin Kohli and Sanjay Jha. But let me come to the other key point, what the new government will look like. Of course, in the current situation, the BJP is under no real compulsion to accommodate allies of the NDA in any of the major ministries. There are reports today on newswires that Arun Jaitley may not continue as finance minister due to health issues. We know Amit Shah, after his big win and now that he's a member of parliament, may be in the cabinet. How do you see this panning out, and is there an issue of bench strength as well?
Look, I think we all want to know what the new cabinet is going to look like. Even the, people from Bombay calling in to find out, because everybody realizes that fixing the economy is going to be the first major challenge for the new team of Prime Minister Modi. And therefore, if that is the case, who will be the new finance minister of India? That is naturally of interest. Yes, there has been speculation. We can only talk about, the buzz speculation, maybe Nalin knows more, whether it will be Piyush Goyal, because he's played that role in the last term for a short period. In that case, what is the job Mr. Arun Jaitley will be given? Of course, he has health issues. Will he be the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, which will be less arduous, or will he be given one of the four important portfolios, maybe defense, etc., etc. Certainly, there has been a buzz that Mr. Amit Shah will get an important ministry. Will it be Home Affairs, and so on? But you and I can just speculate. I think we will only know when the Prime Minister comes out with his list.
I know, Nalin, I'm going to ask you, and you're not going to tell me who's going to be in the cabinet, but I will still ask you. But before that, yes.
I don't know.
No, but I'm
I don't know, and that's the prerogative of the Prime Minister.
That's
therefore,
an important point.
And I can try. I'll tell you, nobody would know.
Nobody will know, exactly, and that's the point I was coming to. What we saw in the first leg of the Modi government, and Madhavan, let me come to you on this, is there was a lot of commentary on how the government was very centralized. The Prime Minister's office was largely overseeing a lot of work of various ministries, and most of the performance was also directed from there, was reviewed from there. Are we likely to see the same formula being applied? And which is why, even though there is so much excitement about the name in the ministries, this is again out and out a Modi government.
If you ask me, Tamanna, I think I've been saying this before, there is a talent famine in the BJP. Strange, they are very strong on political talent. I have my doubts on governance talent, although they have the will to do it. Talent is something else. You need people who can go through files, understand concepts and things. I don't count more than half a dozen ministers who are capable of doing that. There's a lot of, one of the downsides of a personality oriented landslide is that there are too many people who are saying yes and nice things, but they're pretty useless when it comes to actually getting things done. They are politically strong, administratively weak, and therefore a lot of the stuff now has to be thought anew. I read extra significance into Modi's tweet yesterday when he talked about Sabka Vishwas, which was the first time that he added something to Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas, and which means bringing in fresh talent from unknown quarters. Please understand, Arvind Panagriya came and went, Arvind Subramaniam came and went, and I don't think they added particularly great value to the Indian economy. And I think that space is still sort of doddering, and a lot has to be done there, because I don't see, this government has to be absolutely creative, because fiscal deficit remains a challenge, and I think there will be much more needed. And this is not going to be about political will anymore. This is about administrative chutzpah. I will be watching that space carefully.
Nalin, you want to respond to the talent deficit point, because it is a comment that has been made in the first government as well, from 2014 to 2019, that the bench strength hasn't been great. This time you have Sushma Swaraj has said has indicated that she will not continue as a minister. Do you think that that is going to be an issue, and would the government look at bringing in talent from the private sector, like the scheme with the bureaucracy, which has been started about last year?
Two things. One is, Prime Minister Modi is known to be innovative. And second, to try and guess what Prime Minister Modi would do, you do it at your own peril. Because that he's consistently shown he thinks out of the box. So That's something that you would expect from him always. Second is with regard to the bench strength. In terms of bench strength, I think we tend to assess bench strength on those whom we know and have a view on. Honestly, there's 300 plus MPs, and there would be people with certain skill sets that we may have not come across in our normal day-to-day lives, but they have their own expertise in their own areas. So I think that is something that the party would inherently know and know whom to depend on. Whether it's about drawing talent, that option always remains with every government. It's not as if it's this government alone. It has been used in the past, it hasn't been used in the past. So we'll have to wait to see what the Prime Minister finally decides in terms of his cabinet formation. But the last thing that I'd comment on is that you would always expect a strong government in terms of Prime Minister Modi, because that's what the country really wanted in 2014, and that's what the country has rewarded, for a government to continue in that mode in 2019.
Some interesting comments there. We've been talking about the political future of the country. Now remember, after the 2014 mandate, for some time, there was this question about managing expectations. As the mandate has only grown, so have the expectations. Modi 2.0 has more than a comfortable majority, but the aspirations of the people who voted them in are even higher. So interesting times lie ahead. I want to thank everyone for joining us on the debate this evening.